are now tuned in to the Lineman Lounge, the world's thickest sports podcast, with your hosts, Mike and Evo.
Come on, Stan, bitches. This is the Lineman Lounge. I am Mike. That is Evo, and we are here. It's a Saturday night. We are looking good as fuck. Evo, I appreciate you doing the get up once again. You look a little tired from last night, but man, we got a lot of work to do this week. We got a busy week to try to come back from what the fuck happened to us last week. Me especially. But brother, how you doing? How's the weekend going so far? I know you guys went out and did a little Halloween celebration already, right?
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. This is just my normal look.
Yeah, okay.
This is what I'm going for now. If you can't tell, for Halloween, I'm dressed up as a Walmart self-checkout cashier. So yeah, it's been a long weekend and it's only Saturday. Went out last night. A lot of the things here in town for Halloween are happening last night. I'm sure there's some happening tonight, but yeah. Stayed out relatively late last night and ended up winning costume contest with my better half out at the bar. So that was pretty good. And other than that, just a lot of drinks, libations, you know. And then I ended up swabbing the poop deck and getting my booty and providing a pearl necklace by the end of the night. So it was a pirate's life for me.
There you go. Very nice. I like the way you were able to weave all that together. Great costumes. I saw the pictures on Facebook. I am obviously Fred Flintstone. My wife. Yeah, I know. Crazy, right? This is not, sleeveless. Just, it looks like this is my natural state. It might become more of my natural state, though.
Yeah. And what the people can't see is that currently you're Donald Ducking it right now. There is no underwear, no nothing on. You are just all natural down below the waist.
So that is not true. However, I will show off the scar. One of the reasons I wanted to go shirtless, kind of embrace the scar because it is fucking gnarly. And I'm gonna have it for the rest of my life. So fuck it. We're gonna go for it tonight. I'm very excited to hang out with Wilma out at our party as well. I'm gonna, go ahead and yabba dabba do her and make sure that she gets that extra bone that doesn't go in her hair.
Yarg. Nice.
There we go.
Alrighty. Well, yeah. Other than last night, I actually ended up getting up early and on a couple hours of rest and playing some golf a little bit. Finally, first time since I went and took that trip out to San Diego. Started off terrible. Slowly worked into it. By around hole 4 or 5, I probably had one of the best rounds of golf that I've had in a long time. So that was good. But I am bushed. I still fully suspect naps after this show.
Yeah. So we are actually going out tonight directly. Well, a little bit after the show is over. So I'm already set. I'm ready to go. I'm going to toss on a pair of shoes because I'm not wearing shoes in the basement right now. But I'm basically costume ready. I'm very excited to see producer Amber, what she looks like in her full getup when I get upstairs. But without further ado, man, are we ready to stop talking about Halloween and start talking about what the people want? Start talking about sports?
Yes, let's get into it.
All right, so we're going to start out. The World Series is currently taking place. Last time we talked, we were not sure who was going to be in, who was going to be out. We had a couple game 7s. Astros do not make it in. The Rangers punch their ticket. Finally back in the World Series. They have never won a World Series. And then who would have thunk it, but the Diamondbacks find a way from 2 years ago, losing over 100 games. Now they are in the World Series, and they were red hot. They had a great game last night, and then late inning heroics from Adolis Garcia steals that win, man. I know people are not necessarily excited about this World Series, but I am. So is this the World Series that we wanted, that we expect? Diamondbacks, Rangers?
Wanted? Not necessarily, but is it good? Yes. It is good to have parity in the sport. It's we've seen the same two teams in and out of the World Series for quite a while. Since 2016, it's always been the Dodgers and the Astros, right? So it's kind of getting a little bit old, repetitive. It is nice to have a fan base get to be pulled in like the Diamondbacks here, who, like you said, you talked on their trials and tribulations, and to be what I believe the lowest seed as well going into this playoffs and just playing their asses off. And it shows you how this October, November baseball makes a big difference. You can be playing pretty damn good at this time of year. As long as you're in the game, you're in the game. And they played a really good game last night. And that's, people were upset around town here in Arizona because they lost last night, understandably so. But I think also everyone is just so proud of the team for being where they're at. And also as a fan, even if you're not a fan of these teams, to have a competitive and exciting game like that, that's what you want. You don't want just blowouts.
No, we absolutely do not want blowouts. But there was an interesting narrative kind of going around baseball fans groups, Twitter. Like, this is not the one that everybody wanted. These are not the blue bloods. They're not the guys that are traditionally there, right? So like your Houstons, your New Yorks, your LAs. But let's not get anything confused about the size of the markets for these two fucking teams. The Dallas-Fort Worth market is like the 5th biggest market in the entire country. And then I believe the Phoenix market is 10th or 11th in biggest market. So these are not two small market teams that nobody's going to go out and watch. It's just not their traditional teams. So MLB is not upset, shouldn't be upset about this. They're in two massive markets with their World Series. It's just not your traditional thing. And I like that. I root for that almost as being a guy who as rooting for a small market team. You as well. You guys are a small market team, but the Diamondbacks are not a small market. They are pretty good goddamn size in the Phoenix area. And same thing with Dallas-Fort Worth.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, it's pretty exciting here in Arizona, even for more passive sports fans of the team, to have some sort of a championship style game being played here. That's the tickets right now, they're outrageous.
Oh yeah.
It's $500 a pop for the nosebleeds. But a lot of our veteran friends are going for the vet tix option, which aren't aware of that. I don't know how you aren't, but vet tix, go on vet tix. They can get you free tickets to games of any sport.
And if not free, heavily discounted as well.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, vet tix is great. I always am very particular about where I try to sit. I'm one of those I'm a snob. Like, I'll go sit in the nosebleeds, no problem. But it's got to be the right nosebleeds. Like, I got to be in line with something that I have a reference so I can see a game. But VetTix, from what I hear, they do a pretty goddamn good job. So, also not a sponsor. VetTix could be. Could be a sponsor.
Absolutely. And I've actually never used them because I know that I'm fortunate enough where I'm able to kind of do that for myself if I'm trying to go to a game. But quite honestly, like, if I was able, they had a raffle for these upcoming Diamondbacks games here because they're so wanted. So if I were to have put in for the raffle and won, I wouldn't be upset at all. That'd be great.
Yeah. All right. So we got Joe Rockstar popping in. I was a little worried that Joe was not going to stop by the show after back-to-back weeks of losing to our team. But yeah, listen, those were great World Series. I was not around to watch them. But you can go back, like, historically, they're like, those were a huge series across the bay. Your Subway Series, your Mets, your new, and your Yankees. Those are always big fucking series. So I understand the want to have those, but they're not small market teams. And I don't think Joe's making that point, but, I like having the parity. There's not enough parity in baseball, unless you're talking about the AL Central.
Yeah. Which was, it almost was proven to be the best division in all of baseball this year. So almost, yeah. All right, Mike, what else do we got going on today?
So, man, I got another. So there is college football going on right now. Big time game for Ohio State tonight. Listen, Wisconsin is not ranked. They're not a great team, but we don't always play the greatest against Wisconsin, especially coming off an emotional game. They need to go out there, play smart football, and go get a dub. But ultimately, college football, Oklahoma goes down, so their chances of probably making the playoffs are over. They lose to a very game Kansas team. And a couple other big games tonight. What was I forgot who was the.
Well, right now we have Oregon, Utah going number 8 versus number 13.
And Oregon is kicking the shit. Yeah. We had one more. I thought maybe
Louisville's beating Duke right now, number 18 versus number 20. So a little bit of an upset there, 23-0.
Yeah, and Cal versus Caleb Williams, because that's what it feels like is happening in those USC games at this point. Like Caleb has made some mistakes for sure. Watching his games, he's missed the ball high recently as well. Like he's sailed some balls. He needs some extra help. I don't think what is going on with that team is an indication of how good and not good Caleb Williams can be at the NFL level.
Yeah, and that'll be an interesting conversation, actually. Looking back when we get closer to draft time at this time of year and these games, I don't know. There's a lot of competing arguments now against Caleb, not beating good teams and only playing well against trash teams and the Pac-12 and things like that. And the mistakes are starting to pile up a little bit more. I will say they are completely deprived of talent out there at USC right now, offensively around him. But
I thought their receiver core was going to be a little bit better than what they have, but they have not really stepped up for him at all.
The thing is, the best quarterbacks always seem to make do with lesser talent around them. So there's some question marks for sure.
And a lot of those questions are starting to pop up because Drake May, with probably equal to inferior talent at North Carolina. I don't know, man. North Carolina's not bad, but Drake May has looked really good. I have been on I really like Drake May hype train for a while. I still thought Caleb Williams was one, but they're starting to creep a lot fucking closer for me.
Yeah, and I think people will be surprised as Caleb Williams is the hot flash you're naming right now. But the distance between him and Drake May in a lot of NFL rooms probably isn't that large.
Right.
And it grows closer day and day. So we'll see.
Especially when you're getting your ass kicked by Cal.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have some other comments here. Joe Rockstar, the Lineman Lounge is the Niner kryptonite. Well, we'll get into that a little bit tonight, Joe.
We will.
When do you want the kiss the ring call? You don't need to kiss the ring.
You don't have to kiss the ring. No. Joe, we love you. We love all the times that you do call, the interactions that we get with you. So you don't have to kiss the ring. I just was a little worried that you're like, fuck these guys. They're gonna rub it in. I have no intention of rubbing it in. I'm still very, very grateful that we came away with wins in the last 2 weeks, especially because last week it was one of my very, very few wins that I was able to get. And the Browns still barely just fucking squeaked it out. So with that, let's pull up the picks from last week. We're men of our word. We're not going to shrink when we have bad weeks.
Yes, as we did for the Thursday night picks, or at least as I said, like we're men of the people, and the people picked very bad this last week, not just us.
Yeah, everybody was getting slaughtered, and it was not fun. Not a great week. So for me, that is a 3-10 record. We got the Thursday night game, and I didn't win another fucking game until the Chiefs. So it was a long morning. I was like, what did I do? What happened with it was insane to me that it went so sideways. Evo still able to squeak out a above 500 week, 7-6, but also not good. That's 10 total wins. So I had to play it safe on the Thursday night game. Go Bills money line. You did take the Bucks plus the points. Ended up working out. I was just a little worried there for that it wouldn't.
Yes, just barely. I was worried, but the Bucks kind of made a valiant effort there at the end, which continues to bring into question what is going on with Buffalo right now. But that's probably more of a conversation going into next week. They were able to squeak out that win. against the Baker Mayfield-led Bucks, who did not look that great.
No, he did not play good last night or 2 nights ago now. He had some decent throws, but overall, and this was always a problem of Baker's while he was here in Cleveland as well, much like a Zach Wilson, is that he'll have that extra hitch. He'll double clutch. He'll hit the pump. Like, he's got to get the ball out of his hands quicker. When Baker plays in rhythm, he is so much better because he's got the arm strength. But when you see Baker standing in the pocket and it's clutch, hitch, pump, all of these things all in one rep, it's not a good night because he's trying to overthink and do too much. And I saw it for several years, and you could see it again on Thursday night that he just wasn't confident where he was going.
Yeah.
So, but we both got a win on Thursday. Off to a better start this week than last week. Our totals after that, I am 60, 44, and 2. So even following an absolute catastrophe of a week, I am hitting at a rate over 55%. Evo 67, 38, and 1. So you're still doing very, very well. I have got a long way to go to catch back up. There's a chance that I'm going to go a little bit more conservative with some of my picks because I cannot have another 3-10 week. I can't have another double-digit loss week ever.
It's definitely a get right week for us this week.
Yeah,
gotta make up for last week's little stumble.
100%. So with that, Evo, are you ready, brother? We'll start diving in to our picks for this week.
Absolutely. So we can start off with our Sunday morning games. Our first game, we have the Rams and the Cowboys taking place in Dallas, Texas. And the line is currently, according to ESPN and Caesars, Dallas -7, over under of 45.5.
Whew. So in this game, and we've kind of seen this Rams team be much, much better. If they were fully healthy, I would love the Rams plus the points. But I don't believe they're running back out.
Kyren Williams.
Yeah, Kyren Williams is on the IR, correct?
That is correct. But they did pick up Henderson off the street last week, and he played pretty damn good.
He played fine.
It wasn't much of a drop off.
This Dallas defense is very, very good. I don't trust Dak a lot, though, at all. If this was a little bit bigger, because it said 6, right?
7.
Ooh, okay. So you know what? I am going to go with the Rams plus the points. Then if I get the 7, listen, the Rams are 6-0-1 against the spread in their last 7 games, but the Cowboys have been really good against the spread this season as well. I don't love the Cowboys offense. I still have not loved the Cowboys offense. I think Mike McCarthy is doing a giant disservice to a lot of the weapons that they have on this team, but we kind of knew that going into the season that Mike McCarthy was not the greatest play caller in the world anymore.
Yeah, I think most people knew that.
They should have known that if they didn't. If you didn't know that, well, if you haven't already learned that, he's bad at it. He lost that touch about 2 years before he was fired in Green Bay. That's what led to his firing, pretty much. So I'm going to take the Rams plus the points. Puka Nacua is a big part of that team. I think they can get something going, especially with Cooper Kupp being healthy as well. Rams plus points.
Well, some stats for us here. Coming off of a loss, the Rams are 23-12 against the spread while playing for Sean McVay. The Rams are also 10-3-2 against the spread as a dog of 3 or more points in their last 15 games. However, Dallas is 9-3 against the spread in their last 12 home games versus the Rams. And more importantly, Dallas has actually got a 10-game win streak at home right now. So the chances are that the Cowboys are probably going to win this game. But I, too, am going to be taking the Rams plus the points in this one. You have Sean McVay just becoming a new dad. He's going to have a little bit more pep in his step. I do like what that team is doing. The Rams are a scrappy team this year. Took a loss to Pittsburgh last week. However, I think that they can keep this one relatively close here with the Cowboys. The defensive line for the Rams is still getting home. Aaron Donald is still a force to be reckoned with. And I think that they can actually cause some turmoil there against that Cowboys line and probably make Dak a little bit off of his game. So I think that there's an outside chance that the Rams actually win this one, but I'm going to go with the Rams plus the points.
All right. So that's about as aggressive as I was going to be this week for most of my picks. So I'm glad that you followed suit on that one.
Absolutely. All right. Next up, we have the Falcons and the Titans being played in Nashville, Tennessee. The line is currently Atlanta minus 2.5, over under of 35, a very expected low scoring game. We have the Titans, who are reportedly, as of today, telling Derrick Henry he will not be traded, despite having some interest out there. So Tyjae Spears owners in fantasy football, barring an injury,
one more year, you gotta wait,
or some issues where they actually do end up trading Derrick Henry, because that has happened before. He might be someone that you need to stash just for keeper leagues, or go ahead and jettison. Also with the Titans, though, they are looking to be sellers right now. They did trade off Kevin Byard to the Eagles, I believe.
That's a big fucking move too, man. Kevin Byard is still a very good safety.
Yes, absolutely. And there's talks of DeAndre Hopkins possibly being moved as well, which makes sense. Tannehill
is
not starting this game. Yes, it's going to be a split between Will Levis and Malik Willis. Their head coach has come out and said, I never said that Levis was starting. But in reality, he's probably going to get a majority of those snaps. We've already seen who Malik Willis is and what he can do. And it's time to get Levis out there and see what sort of a player he can be.
Did you see the highlight? Actually, Barstool president Dave Portnoy was put out a video about Malik not getting out of bounds late in the game. Clock continues to run. They're trying to come back. Like, just absolute unaware.
Saying that he should be fired.
Yes, of the situation. Now, obviously, Dave has money on that game. That's why he's probably as angry as he is. But also, you do have to know the situation there if you're the quarterback. I don't know if that played a factor into the idea of getting Will Levis some playing time, but the writing is going to be on the wall. I think if there's a big trade that comes from the Titans, it's going to be not Derrick Henry. It could be at the quarterback spot once he gets healthy, if he can get healthy, once they figure out what's going on here. Because Tannehill, they know, is not the guy. DeAndre Hopkins is probably going to get moved as well. There's going to be a lot of pieces that fly off of this Titans team, in my opinion.
Yeah, they could jettison a lot. And I'm not going to lie, with the trade deadline coming up, I did kind of a look through a lot of these teams on the lower end that could definitely be sellers at this point to see who I would want to try to pick off their squad. And in the biggest names for me, other than a Derrick Henry, who is still extremely serviceable, he's not having a fantastic year production-wise, but when he is out there, his production is still good. He still has a high yards per carry and whatnot. He's not getting as many touchdowns, but he's just not being utilized like normal. And Derrick Henry is one of those weird outlier backs. You hear a lot of rhetoric when it comes to running backs that they get better by the fourth quarter. The more you run them, the more they get better. And statistically, that's never the case. The one case that's true is Derrick Henry.
Guy. Yeah. Yes. Well, him and Nick Chubb. Obviously, Nick is out for the year. But those are the backs. They wear you down throughout a game.
Yes.
I don't like Derrick Henry because in the first quarter, he's going to get you 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards, 2 yards. But come the fourth, he's going to get you a fucking 6 and 8 and rip off 12. So
yeah, he's somewhere. They put him around 18 to 20 carries is when he really starts getting going. And that could just be both game situation, later in the game, defense is getting tired, or it could just be that he actually does ramp up over time with that. But outside of him, Jeffrey Simmons is the guy that I would want from that team. He is a fantastic defensive lineman. I don't know if they're willing to part ways with him. They just gave him a new contract. And But if this team is really looking to do a full rebuild, which they really need to do, and they started this offseason, jettisoning some of those bigger name guys to acquire more picks and capital and stuff like that was the way to go. I still don't expect them to move him though. That being said, for this game, I really don't have much stat wise. Tennessee, they're 6-1-1 against the spread in their last 8 meetings with Atlanta, which bodes well if you're trying to pick the Titans on the spread. But at the end of the day, I just think the Falcons are a better team right now. The Titans are a team that is floundering and they are looking to jettison players. Who knows what that is doing to the mental state of some of those players? If, not even just the ones that are possibly going to be getting traded, but the other guys in the squad, at this point, they probably are feeling like the team is phoning it in a little bit. But for me, I'm going to go ahead and take the Falcons money line. It's the safest of the bets here, but neither one of these teams is that great. The Falcons, hopefully Bijan Robinson will be out there playing. A little bit of turmoil with him last week, especially for fantasy owners like myself. It was very upsetting to see him active for the game and basically play nothing. He had like 3 snaps at the half with no carries. And by the end of the game, he had 1 carry for 3 yards. Allegedly had a headache or something like that. Wasn't feeling great. NFL is looking into that because normally players have to be put onto the injury report for certain things like that. And he wasn't. All signs are pointing to him being good to go this week. And he's obviously a game changer for that Falcons team. So either way, for me, it's the Falcons money line.
Yeah, it's the same way for me because I couldn't sit here and bash on the fucking Titans and how they're about to unload their entire team and then pick them to win this fucking game. Falcons on the money line. I believe Bijan being back will make a big fucking difference. Listen, I understand the whole headache thing. Like Graydon, my son, he gets headaches. Like he will suffer from migraines fairly often. He has at times tried to soldier through a game. Sometimes he can't make it. Practices, he's tried. It's tough. So I completely understand. Now, what happens on the back end of that, where them not reporting it, but that doesn't make any sense. You should have, at least before the game, like, hey, Bijan is questionable now because he's suffering from a migraine. Something has to be said, you'd think, especially with all the deals that the NFL has with fantasy football leagues and those kinds of groups and sports books. So it was weird that nothing came out. Something absolutely should have, but yeah, it's got to be the Falcons right here.
Alrighty. Our next game up is the Saints versus the Colts. The Colts reeling after a loss last week. That is a contentious one if you're Jim Irsay, apparently. But this game is taking place in Indianapolis. The line is currently New Orleans -2.5, over under of 43.5. And do you have any comments about the officiating from that game and issues?
Yeah, absolutely. I will fucking say it right now. Torres, he put out the video. He posted that on our Facebook page because he lost the bet. The Colts lost the game to the Browns. So he put out his video of him chugging and all that. And I reposted that to Twitter. And I don't necessarily feel bad about it, but the Colts got screwed. They absolutely got screwed. Do I give a fuck, though? Absolutely not. The Browns have been getting screwed for fucking 20 years by the referees. So if I get one given to me, am I going to apologize? No. I'll tell you right to your face. You guys got fucked. We should have lost that game.
And also,
I don't care, though.
A minor stat correction. The Colts last week, actually, they didn't lose to the Browns. They lost to the Cleveland Myles Garrett's because he put on a clinic of how to play defense in this league. He had a hell of a game.
2 sacks, I believe 2 forced fumbles, block kick. He right now, I think, should be, for a lot of people, to be the defensive player of the year. When you have other guys opposite of Myles Garrett and the entire offensive line can't slide to him, where all you can do is chip him, that's not enough. Myles Garrett can beat Trent Williams one-on-one. We saw it in the 49ers game. So that means, and Trent Williams is probably one of the best left tackles in football still at his age, if not the best. And
probably
Myles
the second best.
Yeah, okay. All right. But he can beat him one-on-one, which means when you have a guy that could beat the best, you need the chip. or you need to double. And if you have other guys like Obo Okoronkwo or fucking Zadarius Smith, different looks and packages that Jim Schwartz is putting together, Myles Garrett is going to eat all fucking day. He might be the guy that breaks the sack record. I know he's not leading the league right now. We're going to talk about the guy who is leading the league because there are more and more rumors coming out that he may be switching teams here in the near future.
I don't know anymore.
We'll see.
It'll depend on this week, probably.
Okay. But yeah, Myles was amazing. Colts got fucked. I don't care. I love being 4-2. We'll talk about the other things that I didn't love in that game when we get to the Browns game.
All righty. Well, that still brings us to our Saints-Colts game here. New Orleans, they're 7-2 in their last 9 meetings with Indianapolis, so they pretty much have been taking it. 7-2 against the spread, that is. And the Saints' defense has just been playing pretty damn good. They're only allowing 19 points per game this year. The issues for the Saints have been on offense, and that really does revolve around Derek Carr and that offensive play calling. I do think that the offensive play calling for that team is absolutely terrible. Not Matt Canada levels of terrible, but it's up there.
Hey, they got a fucking win last week. I buried Matt Canada last week, and they got a fucking win.
They did get a win.
I don't think it was due to Matt Canada, but
yeah, I'm not willing to jump on that bandwagon, and I don't think anyone is on any sort of a bandwagon for Matt Canada right now. But that being said, I do think that the Colts will look a little bit better this week, maybe than they did last week. Gardner Minshew put up a lot of yards and contributed 4 touchdowns, but he also, I believe, had 4 turnovers as well. If they're able to clean that up a little bit, that'll definitely help them out. Jonathan Taylor is expected to be the primary back this week with Zach Moss being injured. So we'll see if his workload increases. He had himself a pretty decent week last week as well. But for me right now, it's the Saints. They're the better team here. Defensively, they should be able to hold those Colts. They should have some success like your team did last year defensively, which even last week, it was a bit of an outlier for the Browns.
Yeah, we gave up quite a bit of yards. We played a lot more zone coverage than we normally play last week. I was actually screaming at the television while it was happening, but sorry, go ahead.
Yes. But for me, I believe that the Saints are going to be able to find out their defense will be able to hold them to that roughly 19 points per game. And it's just whether or not the offense can kind of get clicking or not. So for me, I'm going to go with the Saints here, money line. I don't like either of these teams enough to drop or give points at this point.
Yeah, I'm not dropping or giving any points, but I'm also going to go with the Saints. Excuse me. I believe that their defense is still playing very, very well. And I don't think – now, we love Gardner Minshew on this show, but can he repeat from week to week what we saw? I'm not sure. Like the guy, great backup, great spot starter, but is he a true starter? Can he do it multiple weeks in a row? I'm not convinced, and I really can't get behind it. I'm going with Saints, going on the money line as well.
All righty. Next up, we have what might be a little bit more of an exciting game. We've got the Patriots and Dolphins being played down in Miami. The line is currently Miami -9, over under of 47, and the Patriots were able to go out and get themselves a win last week. And Mac Jones had himself a game for being a terrible quarterback, and I do think that it was probably fluky more than anything. I mean, the line for this game kind of shows how good Miami is and how bad the Patriots have been. Fun stuff with this. Tua, he's 5-0 against Belichick in his career. So Tua basically has his number. And New England has actually lost 8 of their past 10 games where they've traveled to Miami. So it just hasn't been good for the Patriots. I mean, that's dating back to the Tom Brady timeframe. So it's not been New England's place to go down to Miami and win. And I do expect the Dolphins to win this one. Now, 9 points, we know that the Dolphins can put up massive amounts of points on people. And then some weeks they don't. I think that they have to learn to calm down a little bit and play a more consistent brand of football. And hopefully McDaniels is able to get them doing that in this game. But I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Dolphins money line. That's the safe pick here. That's the easy bet.
Agreed. Dolphins money line 5-0 against the spread against teams with losing records. Patriots 0-5 in their last 5 games as road dogs. The Patriots aren't good. Got a win last week, but I think that says more about what is happening with that fucking Bills team than it says about what's going on with the Patriots team. Give me Dolphins money line. Easy.
Alrighty. Next up, we have
I would normally take the points in this situation, but I went 3-10 last week.
All right. Next up, we have the New York, New Jersey, whatever you want to call it, battle. The Jets and the Giants being played in East Rutherford. And technically, it is the Jets, the Giants. So it is what did I just say? It is a home game for the Giants.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting when these two teams get to play each other. Now, the Giants were able to go out last week, look quite a bit better, getting a win against the Commanders. Their defense has really stepped up the past 2 weeks. They only allowed 9 points against the Bills and 7 points against the Commanders. And that might say something a little bit about the Commanders themselves, who are also expected to be sellers come the trade deadline here on the 31st, Halloween. But the Jets, they're coming off of a bye week, I believe. I think, yes. And they consistently have looked like the better team. Now, Tyrod Taylor is going to be starting for the Giants. He has been running that offense
so
better.
good for that fucking team, dude. That's what that offense can look like and do, even without great weapons, when you have a guy that takes what is fucking given to him and makes the right throw on the right read every goddamn time. Tyrod's not going to wow you. He never has wowed anybody. He just does what he's supposed to. Takes what's given to him.
Yeah, and I mean, Daniel Jones isn't immobile. That's obvious. He's very fast. Yeah. But I think his awareness isn't as good. And Tyrod's awareness is just that much better. Because the Giants O-line has been pretty terrible. They've looked better since Tyrod has been in, but that's because of Tyrod. He's able to move a little bit better.
He's getting the ball out so much faster. Daniel Jones notoriously holds on the ball for entirely too long. Like, you're going to give up sacks that way.
Yeah, absolutely. The Jets, the news with them is Dalvin Cook requesting a trade, not happy with his usage, which is fine. I think that he could probably go somewhere if there's a place that's having running back issues. I mean, a Rams or someone like that, and be a guy.
I don't want him, because there's been conversations here that we can go and get Dalvin. I don't want I've seen Dalvin. Dalvin Cook and Jesus Christ, Kareem Hunt are very close to being the exact same running back at this point. And I think that Kareem has a little bit more breaking tackle ability at right now, because Dalvin has obviously lost a step. He is not the game breaker that he was.
Kareem is definitely a better receiver. I'll say that for sure. Dalvin, I think, still probably has the speed, but he's just not getting any opportunities there in New York. I don't think Dalvin is what he has been, but it is really tough to give a true assessment because Bryce Hall he's getting the lion's share of snaps there, rightfully so, because he's better.
Brees is fucking amazing. He has been, since they took the handcuffs off, he's been fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't know why the handcuffs were on, because he looked explosive from the start.
Yeah, they were probably just being safe with their investment coming back from an injury. But either way, at the end of the day, the Jets to me are a better team here. Zach Wilson has been playing better. Interestingly enough, he actually has been average in the first half of the Cup best, I believe, 3 games. And in the second half of those games, he's actually rated as like a top 6 quarterback in the NFL statistically. So he is showing some progress, which is good for Jets fans. To me, the Jets are just a better team here. I'm not going to drop the points again. This is an over-under of 35, a real low-scoring or expected to be low-scoring game here. And the Giants games have actually had the under hit 5 straight games, and that's due in big part to their offense being terrible and their defense stepping up a little bit. So for me, I'm not going to drop these points, though. I think the Jets should win by at least 3 points, if not more. But I'm just going to go ahead and pick the Jets for this one.
Same. I love what Tyrod does for that offense, but I believe the Jets are a better team. I am not coming around to Zach Wilson being a good quarterback in the slightest bit, but I don't necessarily think that he is going to make the egregious mistake as readily as he once was. It's still in there. Trust me. Zach Wilson could absolutely fuck this up, make an egregious mistake, and they could lose this game, but he has done a better job of playing within rhythm as of recently, which is one thing I always talked about that he was not good at. He tried to make the extra play, and the extra play was never there, and he tried to out-athlete people when he is no longer the best athlete on the field. So I got Jets, defensive game. They get the dub. Jets money line.
All righty. Next up, we have the Jaguars and Steelers. This game is being played in Pittsburgh. The line is Jacksonville -2, over-under of 40.5. And this is a 5-2 Jags team versus a 4-2 Steelers team. The Jags don't feel.
I don't understand how they're fucking 4-2.
Yes. Well, the Jags, to me, don't feel like a 5-2 team, but they have the potential to be better. And the Steelers, they feel like a 2-4 team that has somehow worked their way into this sort of a record. And I'm not sold that it's for real, personally.
No.
I feel like that's a lot of luck, a lot of situational stuff, and situational being like games against your Cleveland Browns, where you have Chubb go down and things like that. There's been things that have happened that have allowed them to sneak in and get a win, but I don't think that they're a 4-2 team in reality. For Lawrence, he's actually covered 6 straight road games and has covered 10 straight when he's facing a team with a 500 or better record. So technically, he steps up a little bit in those games. And the Jags are actually 10-2 straight up and 9-3 against the spread in their last 12 games overall. So Jags are, record-wise, seem to be turning around a little bit, looking a little bit better. Again, one thing that I've said is it seems like they're not clicking on all cylinders just yet. That they aren't looking like a playoff team, but they are getting the results when it comes to the record, and they just feel a little bit more believable as a 5-2 team when you compare them to the Steelers, who are 4-2. Now, you can't discount what Tomlin has been doing with that team. He keeps them competitive at all the time.
Every year, dude. Every fucking year. It's like clockwork. The Steelers are going to win goddamn 9 games. They're fucking 6 games into the season, and they already have 4. Mike Tomlin does not fucking lose, and it pisses me off. And honestly, I think it's starting to piss off Steelers fans as well, because they can't get their guy, the new Ben. They can't fucking get the guy. The Steelers always find a way to play super fucking close, and the Jags have not convincingly, in my opinion, done anything. Even though Lawrence has looked a little bit better last week. The Jags are a better team. They look like a better team. They should, like everything about them says that they're a better team. So I'm going to take them on the money line. I'm not dropping any points. The Jags should be, I believe, probably 6 points better than the Steelers. So 2.5, I could take, but it's Mike Tomlin. This doesn't even have anything to do with me going fucking 3-10 last week. It's so hard to bet against Mike Tomlin to not rally his team to at least play a close fucking game. I can't give up any points. Jags money line for me.
Yeah, and I do like the Jags way better in this game. Now, earlier in the week, the Steelers were actually +2.5, +3 points. And at that point, I would have actually considered possibly taking the Steelers plus the points there. I can't. Steelers +2 just doesn't do enough for me there. So I'm going to be going Jags money line as well. Trevor Lawrence still has that bit of a knee injury, but last week it didn't look to be an issue at all. He still was taking off running, looked great. So for me, Jaguars in this one, I do think it can be or will be a pretty close game, though, because that Steelers defense and TJ Watt are going to keep them involved.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
They have all fucking year, man.
Yep, absolutely. All right, next up, we have the Eagles versus the Commanders in Landover, Maryland. The line is currently Philly minus 7 points, over under of 43.5. The Commies went into Philly last year and handed the Eagles their first loss. That's not the same team that's coming out there this year, though. The Commies ran the ball down Philly's throat. However, Philly this year, they're allowing the fewest rushing yards per game of any team, 62.9. So running the ball against them just isn't going to happen. Couple that with the fact that Sam Howell, who has looked pretty darn good, is getting absolutely gang raped in the backfield. I believe he is 40 or more sacks now.
Yeah, he's on pace to break the record for most sacks in a season. That's how bad that offensive line is.
And don't get me wrong, when a quarterback is getting sacked that much, some of it is on him. But in this case, I would still venture to say a majority of it is on that Commander's offensive line.
85% of it is on the line.
Yes. At least.
It's ridiculous. Like, they have to start finding ways to get the ball out of his hand quicker, and that's on the offensive coordinator. Sam Howell, yeah. Well, listen, I like Bieniemy, but Bieniemy is used to pushing the ball down the field. He wasn't the play caller before, but that's the kind of offense they ran. That's the kind of offense that I think that they're trying to run in DC right now, which is another reason that Sam Howell is holding on to the ball for so fucking long. And they have those weapons, but the offensive line is not capable of your fucking 5 and 7 step drop. A 5 with a hitch is fucking toast every single time. A 7, forget about it. Like, he's got 3 and a hitch. That's all the time he has. So they got to rework what they're trying to do with the offense, because I think Bieniemy is a good play caller. He's just trying to run a little bit more of what they were doing in Kansas City, where they push the ball down the field, and it's not fucking working.
Yeah, if they had a better offensive line there with the weapons that they do have, I think it could be successful. It's just not going to be the case this year, not with that line. So they got to switch things up to try to find some success this year. It just hasn't happened yet, and I don't expect it to happen here against the Eagles. Eagles absolutely should win by 7 points, probably more like 14 or more. But again, we're picking safe this week. So I'm taking Eagles money line because that's the safe bet here.
Yeah, agreed. And I wanted to bring up an interesting point. So we talked about the game last year. The Commanders go in and they run it right down the throat of the Eagles, and they get that dub. From that point on, though, the Eagles, they went out, they signed more interior defensive linemen, big name guys. They addressed that position again in this draft. They were dead set on not letting a team that they know is inferior to them run the ball down their throat. And that's why we can see that their defense has made a very concerted effort to not let somebody run the ball on them. They've actually slacked in a couple of areas, like deep passes, especially with Slay being not 100% himself or being hurt. Like, this, you're not going to be able to run it down their throat anymore. And it's because the Commanders went in and did it to them last year. But same thing, Eagles on the money line.
Alrighty. Next up, we have the Texans and the Panthers being played out in Charlotte. The line is currently Houston at minus 3.5, coming off the bye week, over under of 43.5. This is a fun one for draft aficionados because you get the top 2 quarterbacks taken in this last draft, but only one of them is really playing like one of those top quarterbacks, and that's CJ Stroud right now. Coming off the bye week, it'll be interesting to see what this team does because they've had a really good rapport between CJ Stroud and Nico Collins. They've had some question marks at running back because we're not seeing the same production out of their rookie from last year.
Damian Pierce has had a very down year.
And Devin Singletary hasn't been anything special either. It almost feels like the addition of Singletary has taken some away from Pierce. And to me, it almost feels like subtraction by addition, if that's a thing.
Well, so, and you got a little bit of a new system here, a whole coaching scheme change. So I don't know how that plays into Pierce's abilities or what they're seeing, what he's seeing at the line, what the calls are. But we could see last year that he was getting downhill very quickly. He's running an inside zone scheme, one cut, and he's up the fucking field. And then he would go and lay the lumber. And that's not quite happening. Now, CJ Stroud has been absolute fucking revelation for that Texans team. It easily looks like the best quarterback in this draft right now. No slights to Anthony Richardson because he didn't get to play the entire year. He won't get to play.
But even while they're playing, they're two different types of quarterback. But I still think Stroud, as more
Stroud was
traditional
the
quarterback,
most. He was the most pro ready. We talked about this when we did our mock draft. Jay from OTC was like, "Yeah, I got to take Stroud. He's the most ready guy," and he was. He is. So it's got to be the Texans here for me. Like, and you can go and look at some numbers, but right now these teams don't have a ton of information behind them for the team what they are. Like, if you were like, "Oh yeah, this team over the last 3 years with CJ Stroud at quarterback has done this, and the Panthers have done this with Bryce Young," but we don't have that. We don't have a long record of what these teams are based on who's on their squad.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, especially with Houston, because they've been so bad for so long. I mean, Houston has lost their last 4 games when they were a favorite, but that stat dates back all the way into 2020 because they haven't been a favorite but fucking 4 times. So this is unusual to see them as a favorite because we just haven't seen it very much. But they should be the favorite here because the Panthers are just absolutely terrible. They're 0-6 for a reason. Adam Thielen has been the bright spot there.
Bryce has looked not great, man.
Yeah. But the Panthers, they're 0-5-1 against the spread this year, in addition to being 0-6. The Panthers, they're coming off of a bye. Thomas Brown is actually taking over play calling duties, so we'll see if that changes things up a little bit. But I don't really expect to see that much of an impact. I would feel comfortable taking Houston -3.5 here, even with the hook. It doesn't feel great having the hook there, but I'm going to, again, safe play, Texans money line. Got to do it.
Agreed. Going Texans money lines for all the reasons that we talked about before.
All right. And next up, now this one actually could kind of get interesting here. We have the Chiefs and Broncos, a rivalry game here being played out in Denver. The line is currently Kansas City -7, over under of 46. This Chiefs Broncos matchup, Kansas City is 16-0 straight up in their last 16 matches and 11-5 against the spread in their past 16 versus Denver. But the big equalizer here is the weather for this game. Are you tracking the weather that we're going to be seeing, Mike?
Yeah, so I saw the report from Adam Schefter that said it's going to be below 30, fucking snowing. But I also saw some reports that is not accurate. So I am going to pull up a weather report for this fucking game right now, because if it's what Schefter says, it makes this game much tighter. If it's not, it is a fucking blowout waiting to happen.
His tweet that I got up here, or X, whatever you want to call it, from the National Weather Service, is basically he's relaying information from them, says should be a high of 29 degrees, a low of 13 degrees, and between 6 and 14 inches of snow. That's what really makes this game interesting to me. This is a Broncos team that went out last week and beat the Green Bay Packers. Bravo to the Broncos. I'm super happy to see that.
Yeah, I wasn't, because I picked the other way.
Hey, got to learn better. Don't pick Green Bay.
Yeah, but no shit.
Kansas City -7. If this is a fair weather game, it's -7 all day, easy. Now I'm not so sure. So I'm interested to see what you're able to find for weather reports there, because quite honestly, this Broncos team is better suited to play more of a ground and pound style of football. I like their running backs a little bit better between Samaj Pirine and Javonte Williams. You don't really have the same ground and pound type of guys. I mean, don't get me wrong, Isaiah Pacheco is pretty good there for the Chiefs, but I feel like that team is better suited to be playing in those cold weather environments, especially with that being their home. So what are you able to find anything there for weather?
I am scrolling through right now.
Because right now, AccuWeather is showing
27 degrees with only a 28% chance of precipitation.
Okay.
So maybe some light snow, slight breeze. So it's going to be fucking cold, but it doesn't look like precipitation and winds are going to have a big factor in this game.
Okay. Oh, well, that doesn't make my life any easier, I guess, because
Yeah.
if the weather was bad, I was pretty dead set that I was going to be taking the Broncos plus the 7 points.
Oh, I was not
I
going to do that regardless.
I wasn't expecting them to win, but I was expecting them to keep it closer because it could be a little bit more of a knuckle duster type of game. But with the way that the weather's kind of looking, I'm just going to go ahead and do Chiefs money line as well. They're the better team. That'll hedge my bets a little bit against if the weather is bad. If you are waiting until tomorrow to make these bets and you see a different report actually saying that it is going to be kind of gnarly out there, expect the line to change some. But if you're able to get the Denver plus 7, that's the way that I'd be going if I knew for sure that weather was going to be bad.
So I do now. This is a weird way to report this. I am not a journalist. I am not a reporter. However, there is a Browns fan who is here in the United States, originally from the UK. Browns backers bars all over the world, and this man is a fan of the Browns. Paul Brown. It's crazy. Paul Brown UK. Traveling up to Seattle to go watch the Browns in Seattle game. I've been kind of following along. There is snow on the mountains as he is traveling across the country. And I believe yesterday I saw 3 or 4 inches, and he was stopped in the Wyoming, Colorado area.
Mhm.
So shout out to Paul for putting that out, because it also gives us a little bit of insight to this Broncos game. It's entirely possible that there's going to be some weather. But the weather report that I read says 28% chance with light snow. We're not expecting a Buffalo or even a fucking traditional Denver snowstorm, because I know those can get bad as well. That doesn't seem like what's going to happen.
Yeah, and we are getting snow out there. We are just about to hit November, people. It is winter time. I saw Montana yesterday with a lot of snow and stuff like that. So it's not out of the question. We'll see. That's to be determined. But for me and my pick, Chiefs
money line, the easy. Let's do that.
Alrighty. Next up, Ravens and Cardinals being played in Glendale. The line is currently Baltimore minus 9.5 after a ass whooping against the Lions last week. We said, what does Vegas know that we don't know? They knew something. They knew something. So over under a 44.5 here. This is a Cardinals team that was scrappy in the beginning of the year, and they've started to look a lot more like who they're
Josh
expected to be.
Dobbs has started to decline. Kyler has been activated, but is not playing.
Yeah, doubtful for this game.
Yep. I mean, Josh Dobbs is a great guy, super smart, plays great in a tough spot all the time, but he's not a week in, week out starter. The Ravens are really fucking good, and it pisses me off. Like, I thought they were going to have a step back because I wasn't sold on their receiving core, but Lamar is just finding ways to make shit work, man. Like,
yeah. I mean, the Cards have lost 4 straight against the spread. They are showing that decline. Baltimore looks to be getting into a groove. There was those reports of Derrick Henry possibly going out there at one point in time. Seeing Mike's eyes light up here.
Francis Ngannou has put down Fury. It's not over, but he actually knocked him down.
All right.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh man. If you're not aware, that fight's going on. I will be keeping track of my phone here for a second.
But yeah, Baltimore really has been looking like they're hitting their stride. They're the number 1 scoring defense in the league right now. The offense, mostly has been a running attack, but last week they were able to open up the passing game. And you're starting to see the bloom of Zay Flowers out there week in and week out. He's looking really good. So if Baltimore is able to continue on this track, they're going to be one of the top contenders there in the AFC, it looks like. And the Cardinals are just what we were expecting from the Cardinals. I mean, the Cardinals got to win this year. That's more than I kind of expected them to get. That
they got a couple wins, and that was way more than I was expecting. I thought they were getting 1, and like max.
Well, the Cardinals are 1-6 right now.
Oh, okay. I thought
they are 1-6. So
I am incorrect. I thought they have won 2.
Don't
They've
give
just
them
been
too much
competitive in
credit.
every game so far.
Yeah, they just beat the
Last couple of
Cowboys.
weeks. Fucking Cowboys.
But either way, Baltimore minus 9.5. That is easily something that Baltimore should do. We're picking easy bets this week. Baltimore money line for me.
Yep. Also, Baltimore money line, because honestly, they almost look like, and I don't know if you guys can hear me while I'm doing that. They almost look like one of the best teams in football. Like the way they go out and dismantle one of the top teams that we all expect to be in the NFC. They absolutely dog walked the fucking Lions, and I love that Lions team. Man, they put it on them, and they never stopped. They didn't slow down one fucking bit. So Baltimore money line, easy week. Like, you might not make a great deal of money with the picks this week, but you should be able to toss together a couple parlays. Hit a couple of nice, simple parlays.
Absolutely. All right. Ready for our next one?
Hell yeah, let's do this.
All right. Bengals and 49ers being played out in California. San Francisco minus 5.5 is your line, over under of 43.5. Cincy, they're 7-0 against the spread and straight up in their last 7 games versus NFC competition. They play NFC teams well. This is a 49ers team that has just taken 2 losses in a row to your Browns and my Vikings. Brock Purdy, probably going to be starting now. That was up in the air originally. Concussion protocol.
Yep.
Allegedly, he got on the plane to fly home and started exhibiting some concussion symptoms, went into the protocol, has been cleared. Full participant, is going to start this game. So you don't have to worry about Sam Darnold. And that should provide a little bit of hope there for the 49ers fans. The problem is that, and I don't know that Joe will do this. I don't think Joe will do this, but
we'll find out in just 1 second. We have a call coming in.
I was going to say, some people like to be an apologist for Brock right now because of that concussion, but that wasn't the problem with that team.
Joe Sad Star.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Joe Sad Star, you are on with the Lineman Lounge. What's up, brother?
What's up, guys? So it turned out pretty much the way I thought it would. I said we want to keep it close and have more points at the end of the game, so I got a little bit wrong there. But congratulations, Lineman Lounge. You guys are absolutely the 49er kryptonite. But I do want to say this. The last season, we lost games 6 and 7 and then went on an epic tear. So maybe we get a little bit of more of the same. But coming up with the Bengals, I don't know, man. If you're wearing that Flintstone outfit that looks like Bengals.
I mean, it's not Bengals at all. Don't do that to me, Joe. Don't fucking put that evil on me, Joe.
Well, it was right around that trade deadline where you guys got Christian McCaffrey last year that kind of propelled you on that tear. Are you going to be movers and buyers at this trade deadline to get on that tear again?
I don't know what other than a nickel back or somebody in the backfield.
I honestly think you go after a receiver. I think you need a big time receiver. Devontae Adams makes a ton of sense. Fuck them picks, Joe. Go get Devontae Adams.
I don't really feel like the offense is really in that much trouble other than the line. And the problem is there's just no good linemen to grab. So what are you left with, you know?
But,
end,
you don't need any help at left tackle. And that's the only thing that's available right now, I believe. Garrett Bowles is not an upgrade over Trent Williams.
Yeah, we need a right tackle, right guard.
Yeah, are you feeling okay with McGlinchey walking?
Oh yeah, I mean he wasn't much better, but no, I think honestly the trade grabbing another receiver doesn't really help us, especially when Debo comes back, unless we get rid of somebody.
I think Debo should work out of the slot. You let Ayuk and Devontae Adams work on the outside. You get Brock a little bit more options, because here's the thing: like if you get banged up, we have seen over the last couple of weeks Brock take a big step back. I don't care that Brock is a weapons merchant. Who cares? Every quarterback needs good pieces around him. And when Brock is the most successful is when he has those really talented pieces around him. I think that there's a chance that they make a splash because I believe you guys are all in. I think this is the year that you guys believe that you have a chance to win the Super Bowl.
I'm going to say something that's probably controversial for all 49er fans. I hope not. Because I don't care about being great for 1 year. And we need money next year to pay IU. So I don't want them to do anything stupid.
Okay.
That's just me. I want to be a dynasty, not a Rams win 1 year and then suck for the next 3 or 4. That's not what I'm interested in. I want to be back where we were in the 80s. We didn't win every Super Bowl in the 80s.
We went to a lot.
We got to a few. We got to them and we managed to win them. But that was a different era when you could pay people whatever you wanted. We can't do that nowadays. So, and I know there's a lot of people who think a Super Bowl is the ultimate, man, but I like a good season where you win more. I would love to win the Super Bowl, but when you win more than you lose, that's good too,
Yeah. And I get that as well. Like if my Vikings were put in the same sort of position, I don't know that I would want us to sell the farm for, well, I guess I can't say that because I want one Super Bowl before I die. But a dynasty sounds way better. And if you're able to find a way to that of course is the preferred method. And I do think that you guys are good enough right now when healthy to be Super Bowl competitors and to win the Super Bowl. It just hasn't been that way for these past 2 weeks. You've had a lot of injuries and hiccups and things like that. I will say this, Brock Purdy, I'm not off on him by any means. I love Brock Purdy. I don't think that the concussion last week really played a big factor into it. One of the things with Brock Purdy is that he's actually had a somewhat higher amount of turnover-worthy plays than your average starting quarterback, and other teams haven't taken advantage of that until the last 2 weeks. And I don't know that trend is going to continue necessarily. He's probably trying to do more for his team than he should be in order to keep them in the game with some of those injuries happening. If he's able to clean that up a little bit, and if you guys are able to figure your defensive woes out, I think the sky's the limit for this 49ers team. I still view them as a top 3 team in the NFC at the very least.
Well, I mean, you got to think that Brock Purdy believes that he was like almost untouchable. He won every game that he started and finished until the Browns. So he is starting to have this utmost belief in his fucking abilities to sling the pill around. And I think maybe, entirely possible, he took a little bit too big of a bite. He tries to push the ball a little bit too much, too far.
I honestly think the first pick was affected by the hit in the head. It was the second play after that hit that he threw that first pick, and it was way off target for what he usually does. Way too far inside. The second pick was just him trying to save the fucking game. I mean, he's trying to be a hero. Yeah. Nobody else is getting it done, so he's going to try and do it himself. And I get that, and that's going to happen with a young quarterback. So I'm okay. He's going to be all right. We got this kid locked up for a while, So we're going to let him experiment, let him play his game. He'll learn what he can and can't get away with. And you're right. So far, he's been able to get away with a whole freaking lot. And so that probably skews, in his mind, what abilities might be, or overinflated maybe a little bit. But I think he'll get that together. I'm not worried about that.
And you don't know where that line is.
I don't know
until you try to cross it.
Yeah. Right. There's a thing I say about officiating all the time, which is why I'm so irritated with officials. I don't know where the damn line is.
So we have not discussed the officials. Last year, we spent a lot of time bitching and complaining about the officials, especially at the start of the season. And I feel like our show is going to have to probably start bitching about the officials a little bit more. I was gifted a win for sure in Indianapolis, and there was bad officiating on both sides in the game where the Browns beat the 49ers. The officiating's not getting better. And the fact that Jim Irsay, of all people, is putting out tweets that saying the NFL is admitting that they made mistakes. Now, I have not seen anything from the NFL say that. But
Well, they send that to the team. So the team sends in they send in their weekly complaints, basically, or report or questions of why they were called, and then the NFL sends them to them. But they don't.
Yeah, they're not going to disclose that because I mean, the officiating has gotten really fucking bad, especially over the last couple of weeks. You can point at damn near every game. You're like, what the fuck were they looking at this point? I didn't want to do that this year.
So here's my thing. I don't even want to sound like a bitching fan for my team. This isn't about my team anymore. This is about, like, you're watching a game. I think the officiating is bad on both sides of the ball a lot of the time. Sometimes, like, maybe Eagles, it's a little worse for one team than the other. But all across the board, what it does is it causes a lot of fucking confusion. You guys know the deal with holding can be called on any play. You've got – but usually officials
I actually
will
teach linemen
make some
how
calls
to
in the
hold
beginning of the game.
correctly when I'm coaching.
Yeah. And officials they'll lay down the law in the beginning of the game or in the first quarter, so you kind of get an idea of what you can and can't get away with. There's some boundaries drawn, but right now it just seems like players have any idea, what they're going to get called or what's not going to get called. And I know that's, I'm not trying to say like, hey, you should know what you can shoot at and what you can't shoot at, but it also lets the other team know, like, hey, this guy's they're watching the holding, you know what I mean? Like, especially for pass rush guys, because they're the ones that are getting, I think screwed the most right now. And I don't know what that's all about, but it feels to me like the pass rush guys are getting screwed a lot.
Yes, absolutely.
But
so
anyways,
back to the 49ers and this game at hand. You guys have the Bengals, who have looked really good the past couple of weeks, and with you guys kind of coming off of these two losses, I mean, you guys gave up over 400 yards to my Vikings last week, made Kirk Cousins look good in prime time and on Monday night, and weren't able to sack him once. I know that you had a lot of complaints about your defensive coordinator and Steve Wilks. Do you think that you guys are going to be able to make the adjustments and figure out how to slow down Joe Burrow?
I'm going to piss. I'll be right back.
Honestly, I don't know, man. I've taken a ton of heat, by the way, on that Facebook group that you introduced me to on that. And it turns out that, the coaches both agree with me.
Yeah.
It was a bad call. They shouldn't have made it in that halftime call or whatever. And anybody who really knows how a game's played should know. I mean, you don't just do a move like that. It just didn't make any sense. It's not worth the risk. But it's not just that that's going on with Wilkes. There's obviously an issue with how the 49ers like thrived on, either the pass rush is getting there, so the pass coverage is out there doing their job so the pass rush can get there, or the pass rush is getting there to help out the corner. And it just seems like we're just so out of sync. And I don't think that we're, our new coordinator is using our tools as effectively as our past two coordinators did. I mean, it's not like we have a huge shakeup on who's playing on our team. I think the biggest thing we have is we don't have a good nickel corner. But other than that, I don't get it.
Yeah, my two thoughts on that. That last play where Addison kind of ripped away an interception and took it for the 60-yard touchdown. It's a very aggressive move to play zero and blitz that many guys in that situation. The hindsight of it now is 2020. If they had gotten home, which Cousins under pressure, Cousins in those sorts of moments is known to crumble. If they had gotten home, then they're preventing even a field goal from probably happening. And we wouldn't be having this conversation at all. No one would be complaining about the zero. But what happened does seem foolish.
Our normal defense there. Yeah, I think honestly what normally happens there with our team is we end up giving something across the middle, make a quick tackle. You guys got to run up and spell and maybe get one more play. You have to pick between a field goal and a Hail Mary, So I just don't think you guys score on that down, or those next two downs, or you probably at the most the one you played and then spike the ball and get one more.
Yeah.
I just don't think you guys would have scored on that. I just don't think it was likely. Let's put it that way. The odds were much better that we just go for the stop, let the clock run out than what they tried to do. But even if we got an interception, we get down to 20, we get tackled right there. it doesn't do any good. We can't do anything with that. We get a sack, the clock runs out, great. I don't know. I just think it was way too risky for the situation. I don't mind them running a 0 on some other play when it's not 16 seconds left on the clock and we just got to keep you from, getting another couple plays. We don't have to stop. It's not like you got a drive going here. That's your time. You're out of time.
Yeah. Now, I can't remember
Anyways,
if it was. I can't remember if it was you or someone else that I heard a pundit or someone talking about this, but they said that the difference between D'Amico Ryans last year and Steve Wilkes this year seems to be that last year D'Amico Ryans was a lot more fluid and flexible with his defense and game planned, whereas Steve Wilkes is kind of like, this is the 49ers defense. We are running this defense, and it is good enough to beat anyone on any given Sunday, and they don't make the adjustments necessary by team that they really should be doing that you saw with D'Amico. Is that something that you're kind of seeing from Wilkes, where he's kind of my way or the highway, this is my defense and I'm running it how I want to, rather than adjusting?
I mean, obviously I'm not, privy to what's being said like that, but I will say this. I'm not, it may be recency bias, but I'm not a big fan of Wilkes. I don't like that he sits up in the box. The last two guys we had, D'Amico, Ryan, Sala, they're right there greeting the players when they come off the field, cheering them on, and I know that that's not the biggest part of coaching, but I see him up there with his little notepad and he's writing things down, and it's like, for him it seems like just procedural, right? You're just following your checklist and doing your thing. And I think you're right that like D'Amico and Sala are on the field watching, seeing their players, seeing the looks in their faces and making calls based off of, that feeling, that gut feeling and knowing what's going on with your players. I just don't like it, him sitting up in the box like that.
All right. Well, with that, Bengals this week.
49ers channel, I know, so I don't want to take up all your time. I think the Bengals are going to have a good game.
Joe, you're good. So
I'm scared.
Since we're here,
I'll tell you the truth.
Yeah, let's get your pick. What do you think's going to happen this week?
Well, there's a part of me that always wants to say I think we're going to win. I think we're going to struggle. I think it's going to be the same thing as it was the last 2 weeks. It's going to be a close game, and we're going to have to, this time finish, if we want to win it. I'm going to say that if Brock Purdy plays, I know he's been cleared, but that doesn't mean he plays. Two concussions so close together, that might be a big problem for us. So, and it's Shanahan again, is what I call it. You never know what he's going to do. So, but if Brock plays, I don't think it really is. I honestly don't think it's going to be that huge of a difference for us without Debo in the lineup. I'll say I'm going to say Niners. You know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we know.
However,
you
Kittle's going to have a good game, so I'll make that call. What's that?
You dropping the points? -4.
What was the spread?
4 still, right?
It's 5.5. San Francisco minus 5.5.
5.5?
Yes.
No, I'm not dropping the point. That's Niners 4.5, right?
Correct.
Niners minus 5.5. You say?
5.5. Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna put our.
Yeah, that sounds foul to me. I think they're just trying to sucker more people that are still on the Niner bandwagon now. Because I don't think that's right.
That's very possible. Well, hey, Joe, thanks for calling in. We always appreciate it. You have more of an in-depth perspective and a realistic look at your team, which is always nice to hear, rather than just kind of the echo chambers of everything is good, honky-dory, and we're the best.
Yes.
So thanks for calling in. We really appreciate it.
All right, guys, take it easy. Have a good weekend. Good luck with your team.
All right, thanks, brother.
See
See
you.
That was Joe Rockstar, one of our most avid watchers and callers, by the way. So, Joe, appreciate you, brother. Always good to talk to you as well. So, Joe expects 49ers to win, thinks 49ers win. It's going to be a close game. I thought it was down at 4. Pretty simple for me, man. With it being that high, 49ers money line, honestly, Bengals plus the points sounds pretty goddamn good, though.
And that's the way I'm going. I'm going Bengals plus the points on this one because the Bengals, the past couple games, they have been on a tear. This is a 49ers team that is reeling with injuries and these 2 losses. Now that 2 losses in a row should light a fire on their asses. Shanahan's not the type of guy to just let it sit back and not be a problem. And he's probably having conversations right now with Steve Wilkes, being like, what the fuck are you doing? As an offensive guy, I know how I'm going to attack you. And I know I'm taking advantage of the same things that the Vikings did and that Cleveland was able to do. So I feel like Shanahan will probably interject what he needs to in order to right that ship to an extent. And I do think that this could be a very good game. I like the over in it. That would be an awesome game to watch, in my opinion. But for me, I think it could be real close. I think the Bengals have a shot at winning this game. I'm rooting for the 49ers in this one, but I am going to take the Bengals plus the 5.5 right now, because I do think that this could be a very close down to the wire type of game.
All right. Bengals plus 5.5. I'm going 49ers money line.
All righty. Next up, we have the Bears and the Bears and the Chargers for Sunday Night Football. So that's obviously going to be a raucous event. I don't really have a whole lot here. The over for the Bears is actually hit in 6 of the last 7 road primetime games. And that's about the only stat that I have. I believe Tyson Bagent is still expected to be the starter there for the Bears.
Dude, Uncle Rico fucking played a great game last week. Like, listen, for being a D2 guy in your rookie year and fucking coming in, like, what else are you going to expect? Like, there is not a high bar there. He played fucking fantastic for what he is.
When you look at it that way, yeah, he had a good game. But the regular stats are he was 21-29, which is good.
That's a good number.
162 yards and a touchdown. And part of that
what
is
the defense gave him.
Yeah. And you had big days from Deonta Foreman, 89 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah. That was great pickup in our fantasy league. And I'm sure Sam Benfer was very unhappy because that's who I beat this week.
Yeah. But Tyson Bagent, I mean, look, the Bears fans love him. He is kind of like what Gardner Minshew when he first started playing some for the Jags and things like that. He's a fun guy to latch onto. His dad is electric. Bagent's dad should absolutely have his own show. After watching that Pelissero bit where he arm wrestled.
The fucking arm wrestling thing?
Yeah, he's an arm wrestling champion. And the guy looks like he could still be playing in the NFL if he was an NFL player. He must have had Tyson when he was a young lad.
Incredibly charismatic in front of the camera as well.
Yeah,
like,
it seems like he is.
Perfectly.
It seems like he has been behind a camera before, the way that he was acting. But anyways, Chargers minus 8.5, over under a 46.5. Chargers are a better team here. I'm kind of wanting to root for the Bears in this one, not because I want the Bears to get a win, but because I think that this will be the nail in the coffin for Staley if they were to lose to the Bears at home on primetime Sunday Night Football. I don't know how you recover from that one. They've already had a very down season. I mean, this is a good team that is 2-4 at this point. They're the outside looking in at a wild card spot right now. When a lot of people thought this Chargers team could be very, very competitive, very good. Now they've been without their main guy, Austin Eckler, for a little bit. But he's back now. Yes, Mike Williams is hurt, but you've got other receiving options there. They need to get their tight end involved more. He's just not getting the play that he should be. Either way, the Chargers, to me, they are the better team here. They should beat this Bears team. And so that's why I'm going to pick the Chargers to win. But there's no way I'm dropping 8.5 points. The Bears defense has been playing marginally better, but they're not world beaters by any means. Tyson Bagent is a D2 quarterback starting in his second game, third time playing in an NFL game. And this is just not a super talented team for the Bears. So for me, it's got to be the Chargers in this one. That's the safer bet. But again, there's a part of me that is hoping that the Bears are somehow able to pull this one out and that we finally see the end of Staley and hopefully the Chargers can get out from under that rock.
Yeah, so the Bears have not been great. I love the story from last week, but they just really have not been very good. The Chargers are a better team, basically on all aspects. Like, you can look at side-by-side comparisons, every single position group, and the Chargers probably are the better squad. Like, they really are. But the story going around the Bears is super fucking cool with the D2 kid and his dad. Like, it's great. Love it. But do I expect that story to continue and him win 2 games in a row? I don't. I got to go Chargers on the money line. And I mean, we laid out the stats against the spreads and all that. So the Chargers are better. I'm going Chargers money line as well.
All righty. Monday Night Football, we have the Raiders and the Lions going out there into Detroit. Detroit, Michigan is going to be rocking there probably. Lions looking to turn it around after, again, the Motor City Kitties got their asses whooped last week. And I don't expect Motor City Dan Campbell to allow that to continue. That is
could you imagine the week of fucking practice with the way Dan Campbell coaches that happened in fucking Detroit this week? This is going to be like you just lost to somebody you shouldn't have lost to in high school. Like, he is going to be fucking ramped up all week.
I feel like he probably went through an egregious amount of Copenhagen wintergreen during practices this week or something like that. Just really chomping.
Sitting in the fucking film sessions, just like, I don't have enough. I need a whole goddamn horseshoe to watch this atrocity happen.
Yeah. And look, the Lions are a good team. Last week, they showed that they have ways that they can really be beaten. Dan Campbell is going to use that punch straight to the chin as a teaching moment for his squad, and I'm sure that they're going to recover. I fully expect them to be able to recover against this Raiders team this week. 8 points, probably close to what they can do. And I'm going to go through some stats here, but I'll start off by saying it's going to be the money line for me for the Detroit Lions. But Detroit, they're 14-3 against the spread in their last 17 games. They have just been great. And what's been even more great for Detroit is Jared Goff when he's playing at home. At home, he's been fantastic. The last 6 games as a home starter, he's 5-1, 72.7% completion rate, averaging 287.8 yards passing, and he's 15 for 2 with touchdowns to interceptions. He's been fantastic at home. This is a home game for him out there in prime time. I fully expect the Lions to look really good going out there, but it is going to be Lions money line for me as the safe play here. And this is a Raiders team where I believe Garoppolo is now expected to start.
I don't care who's playing. The team is not very good, and the locker room is being lost at this point. Like, this is going to turn south incredibly quickly. We talked about it last year. Like, if the Raiders were a cash-rich team with an owner who is incredibly wealthy, like a lot of the NFL owners are, we'd probably already see a different coach. The locker room is not behind what is happening. Devontae Adams will probably be traded before the deadline. He is very unhappy.
Look, I hope so as a fantasy manager of him, but I'm not holding out hope for that because the Raiders have kind of said, like, we don't want to trade you. So I don't know.
One of them's got to go before the trade deadline is up, whether it's your coach or your receiver. One of them has to go. No fucking way. Wow. Ngannou to a split decision is wild because Francis Ngannou is not a boxer. Boxing is the sweet science, baby. Like, you got to know how to fucking box. I pray for any man that has to fight fucking Francis Ngannou in a goddamn octagon. If he can take
a scary dude,
the world champion of boxing to a split decision, that is a bad man.
Let's see another one.
Yeah,
let's get a number 2.
Yeah, I'd watch. I wish I could have watched number 1. The fact that he even put him down is insane.
Yeah. Hey. Maybe we can watch replays on fully credible sources.
100%
like
legal,
right afterwards.
All sources, yes.
All right.
So we got Lions, both of us, for the last one. What we were talking about the Raiders.
And needing to move on from coaching and Devontae. What's funny, and this will kind of lead into our next game that we're going to talk about here, is the Packers fan base. They want Devontae back so bad. But I'm just gonna level with them. That's not going to fix the team. And so we'll go back in time here.
Jordan Love is the problem.
Our Sunday morning game back in time is my Vikings versus our rival, the Packers, in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I am glad that we are playing them early on right now in Wisconsin, because it is not a snowy game, which is a equalizer for a lot of things. The Packers do play good out there in those environments. However, this is an interesting one for me. The line right now is even.
It's a pick 'em.
It is a pick 'em. Over under of 41.5.
But
now,
started out with the Packers as being the favorite, correct?
I don't know about that. Earlier in the day, it was Vikings 1.5.
Oh, so we're starting to move the other way.
Yeah. So I have some interesting stats here.
Let's do this.
All right. 93% of betting money right now is on the Packers. Now, if we're going with what we said last week, hey, maybe Vegas knows something when it comes to that Ravens-Lions game. Maybe there's something going on here as well. The Vikings won as underdogs and now are on the road with short rest. 29% of the teams in that exact same position have won in the last 20 years. So it's a very low hit rate for those teams to win. Kirk, he's 12-8 in games where the point projection is to be, or the teams are spread is within 3 points. So he doesn't have a winning record in that situation either. Kind of flip to that, Kirk Cousins is having a fantastic year. And look, I said he's bad in prime time. He's even worse on Monday night games. Last week, he looked fantastic, like absolutely fantastic. He's leading the league right now in completions. He's leading the league in passing touchdowns, and he is second in yards, within like 40 or 50 yards, I believe, of Tua. So he's having a fantastic year, which is starting to bring up conversations. Do the Vikings need to look at re-signing Kirk? We'll see. I'm ready to move on, but I get it. I get it at this point. And this game means a lot to the Vikings because we win and we're back at 500 and we have a shot at possibly going and making the playoffs. So I said last week, if we win, Super Bowl, baby. And I mean, that's very bullish and obviously is facetious, but I mean, it has made the Minnesota fan base think, hey, maybe we got a chance to actually make a run. All of our games have been close. We've shown that we can beat every team that we've played so far, and we've made silly mistakes on our own and had turnovers, and we've lost a lot of games because of it. But then when we put it all together like we did last week, I mean, the defense right now is, I believe, ranked 15th in some metrics. The offense is playing fantastic. The only thing on the offense that it isn't really working is rushing touchdowns. We are still without a rushing touchdown. But I kind of expect that to get fixed a little bit this week. Green Bay, they're actually 31st in completion percentage on offense. Not good. They're 24th in yards per pass. Not good. They're 26th in passer rating in the league. Not good. And then when it comes to rushing, they're 24th in rushing yards per attempt. Not good. Their offense is anemic. It is not looking good at all. And Jordan Love is a huge part of that. But they've had a lot of injuries as well. This game, they have a lot of injuries that is going to be affecting them. But this almost feels like a little bit of a trap game, which makes it interesting that the line is moved to even, because if Vegas were to view it as a trap game, they would be favoring the Vikings after that win last week. Yeah. And like I said, it was favored earlier in the day. So it's interesting to see that line is moved to even. Look, if the Vikings win this game, we might look to be small-time buyers here before the trade deadline. If we lose, that's when you could see Danielle Hunter possibly being shipped off. I don't want to see him go because he is leading the league in tackles for loss and sacks right now.
Yes.
Tied for sacks. But he has had a fantastic year under Flores. I wish we could keep him. I want to keep him. I want to find a way to keep Danielle Hunter long-term. Probably
both of those guys. You want to keep Danielle Hunter and you want to keep Brian Flores.
Oh, yeah. If we can keep Flores another year, I'd be ecstatic. But I'll say this. A lot of these signs are pointing towards the Vikings having a bad week. All right. They're on a short week. They're coming off an emotional high. And we have shown this year to step on our crank. So if we're going to do it against anyone, it probably would be in a high tense situation against our rivals in their home stadium. Now, of course, I'm picking my Vikings to win this game. I am going to do that. And I think that our defense is actually going to give Jordan Love hell. And I think that this is the game where our rushing attack actually starts to get better. Our offensive line performed out of this world last week, and they are still top 5 in the league according to effectiveness for run blocking. We just haven't had running backs actually take advantage of that, primarily Alexander Madison. And I'm at the point where I want him to be the backup again. I'm liking what I'm seeing out of Cam Akers a lot. He has that burst that works. And so I think that we will lean on Cam Akers. We're going to mix in some more Ty Chandler. And I think that we'll probably get our first rushing touchdown this week. I'm not willing to say that it's going to be one of the running backs. It might be Kirk. It might be an end around. But we are without Justin Jefferson, and we are making it work. We're seeing good stuff from Brandon Powell at wide receiver. Obviously, Jordan Addison has looked fantastic. I thought he was going to get 3 touchdowns last game. They were trying.
He was really fucking good last week.
But I think that Flores is going to be able to provide some really unique pressure situations for Jordan Love and put him in bad situations. And I think that our offense has just kind of been churning and rolling and doing well. And as long as we're able to keep our hands on the ball, we should be able to get this win.
Brother, I agree with you. I think the Vikings absolutely should get this win. I went with the Packers last week because I thought the Broncos were terrible. I mean, the Broncos are terrible. Jordan Love is playing like he fooled everybody with his first 2 weeks. People thought like, man, Jordan Love can maybe fucking play. Jordan Love can't play. Like it's apparent at this point. Like he is the most inaccurate quarterback in the NFL right now. And I have spent 2 years burying fucking Zach Wilson. Jordan Love might be the worst guy to start a quarterback in the league right now. It is so interesting how what he's reading doesn't make sense. And then when he reads it, I'm not sure he still trusts it. And the ball just fucking sails all over the yard.
Yeah, his accuracy is pretty wild right now. You almost, it's an interesting evaluation process with him because he essentially is a rookie who has had a lot of practice time.
Yeah.
He has very little experience, and you weren't able to see him out there with any sort of regularity other than preseason and things like that to really know what you've got in a guy. Everything was tailor-made for him to have a successful situation to kind of walk into and at least be average. But
everybody's running vanilla defense and they ran a vanilla offense, so he's able to run your vanilla bullshit.
Yeah. So I think LaFleur has a big issue on his hands. I don't think Jordan Love's the answer, but they kind of made their bed with him, and they're going to stick with him this year and probably again next year. And maybe he makes some improvements, but as of right now, I don't think that there's any signs pointing that he's going to dramatically get better out of nowhere. So for me, it's Vikings. I think that we are going to dog walk the fucking Packers. And that would be a great start to my Sunday morning.
Going Vikings money line as well, man. Like they're just not good. Vikings money line for both.
All right. And then lastly, we have our afternoon game, your Browns versus Seattle Seahawks out at Lumen Field in Seattle. The line is currently Seattle -3.5, over of 37.5. No Deshaun Watson again. More information has come out about his, I believe it was like a joint separation rotator cuff, something like that, which I believe they said pitchers and stuff like that are 4 to 6 weeks.
He's got a subscap contusion. So he's 4 to 6 weeks. We are in like week 5 right now, but he hasn't had the full straight rest like you would see with a guy at the MLB who is the typical athlete that ends up with a subscap rotator cuff thing.
But the team doctors have cleared him to play.
Yeah. So this is a very, hang on a second.
Oh my God, he's hitting a douche flute.
I am hitting a douche flute. It's been an interesting week because we know now what is for sure wrong with Deshaun Watson. It's a subscap. When we should have originally placed him on the IR. He did not play well at any point in the last game. He only threw 5 passes and then he was knocked out of the game. but not due to a concussion, not really due to anything other than the fact that it was maybe his shoulder and he wasn't ready. That's the talk. But he also does not look like Deshaun is not Deshaun of old. And I see different media personalities in the Cleveland area, like talking about other athletes. Like, at what point have you ever seen DPJ be a wide receiver number 2? Why are we keeping him? Well, and this is also somebody that goes out and says that Deshaun Watson's our starting quarterback. At what point have we seen Deshaun be the guy? It hasn't happened at all, with the exception of one game against the Titans this year, who have one of the worst pass defenses in all of football. So Deshaun not being there is not a factor, because I don't think he makes this team better at all. I really, really don't, other than his ability to break the pocket. The Browns are down a running back. We are looking at bringing in more running backs. Kareem Hunt is probably going to be the starting running back on the squad for a couple weeks. Like, we are not sure if we're buyers or sellers, but somehow, some way, we're 4-2. And that somehow, some way's name is Myles Garrett, because right now he's playing like a man fucking possessed. He is keeping us in games and helping us win those games. I do not like our chances this week, though. Going out to Seattle is always a tough go unless you live on the West Coast. We are not East Coast, but we're East Coast. We're on the East Coast time zone at the very least here in Ohio, Cleveland area. So that's a tough sled going out there. Seattle is a up and down team. They have their moments where they look pretty good. Our defense is absolutely going to keep us in this game, and they may even generate some points on defense in this game. But I don't love our chances to win this game. But I don't think we're going to get murdered by any stretch of the imagination. What the line that I have right now is 3.5. What line? 3.5 still?
Yes.
So I got the Browns plus the points this week, because can we win? 100%. No doubt about it. We can win. Even with PJ Walker, who I don't love, I would rather see an entire week of DTR knowing he's going to start on Sunday with a full week of prep. I would love to see that before the trade deadline, but it doesn't appear that that's going to happen. We are good enough to at least lose by 3. The hook makes it even better for me. So I like the Browns plus the points, but the quarterback situation is we're in a terrible fucking spot. Our EPA, we have, I believe, 3 of the 4 lowest EPAs in all of football right now with our 3 quarterbacks that have played. It's disgusting. How we're winning, I don't know. And I don't honestly care, even if the wins are gifted to us like they were last week in Indianapolis. So I'm going to take the Browns plus the points and just pray that we are not embarrassed by a Seattle team that's actually pretty goddamn decent again.
Yep. Now, before I get into the couple stats that I have here, do you have any commentary on former Browns quarterback Brady Quinn and his conversations on the X?
Yeah. So I thought it was funny. I'm not gonna bullshit at all. It is funny because if you're gonna go at somebody, where do we draw the line on what is acceptable and not acceptable to say? Who makes that determination? If you're gonna open up your mouth, now it wasn't Deshaun that was talking. It was Deshaun's trainer, who him and their publicist or his social media guy, I don't know who the fuck he is. He's got a giant dome just like fucking Megamind. I don't know. But they have been very loud and vocal on Twitter trying to paint narratives that are honestly just not there, not true, and talk about other people and it seems like deflect what's going on with Deshaun. I understand that Deshaun is hurt, but that does not excuse the play that we saw before that. We only have one good game out of Deshaun Watson's entire tenure as a Browns player. So those guys are talking. Everything's getting crazy and wild. And Brady, as a former Browns quarterback, follows the team and said something that may be a little uncouth to a lot of people. But I am entirely all for petty remarks when you can win an argument with extreme violence right off the bat, do so. Because who wants to get into an hour-long Twitter battle? Just throw your fucking haymaker at the beginning, and we'll talk about the fucking massages, and we'll hammer all that out.
We'll massage this conversation offline.
Yeah, exactly. So do that so you don't have a back and forth Twitter battle. Fuck it. Like, who cares? I applaud it. I respect it because at some point Brady Quinn is probably going to be confronted with these comments from somebody who's going to try to care. And
I mean, they did talk about it on his CBS show with Pete Prisco. Pete tried to goad him into it, and he was like, look, I'm not causing any drama. Like, if people want to make drama out of it, cool. And he's like, I'm just coming from a position where I understand certain things about the NFL, and I'm making comments about it, and you can take it how you want. I love it. But real quick,
I got no problem with it whatsoever.
The couple stats I got is that under Pete Carroll, the Seahawks are 17-9 against the spread when they're playing consecutive games at home. All right. On the flip side, the Browns are 1-7 against the spread when playing consecutive games on the road under Stefanski. Doesn't bode well spread-wise there. Your guys' defense is outstanding. Your guys' defense with Myles Garrett is incredible. But I'm not super scared by your guys' offense in any way. Receiving-wise, you got Njoku, Amari Cooper, and I'm not too scared about much else. Kareem Hunt, I do like. I've always really liked him in his career. But I don't think that he's going to have the juice to get it done and really carry that team on his back. And PJ Walker just isn't the guy. So I think that your guys' defense will be able to hold Seattle to a point, but I still think that Seattle can get up into the 20s as far as points. And I'm not sure that you guys are going to be getting past 14 to 17 points. So for me, the spread doesn't work out there. I'm going to be taking the Seahawks money line on this one.
Okay. So Seahawks. Oh, no. Money line. I'm going Browns.
Plus the points, plus the 3.5.
Plus the 3.5. And that wraps up the week. And I don't blame you for going Seahawks there, man. But I'm not going to. I bet against the Browns, I believe, twice so far this season. And I was wrong both fucking times. I'm not going to fucking do it again. I'm going to make them prove me wrong. I'm going to have faith in my boys to at least keep this fucking game close. But there are some very tough conversations and things that are going to happen with this Cleveland Browns organization because the Deshaun Watson injury and his lack of playing is going to result in the firing of somebody, whether that's medical staff, coaches, front office personnel. I don't know where it's going to get to. But somebody is going to lose their job because we have a quarterback that we're paying $230 million to, and he's not on the field. And nobody fucking knew why for several weeks. That is a problem that should not be happening inside an NFL locker room. Flat out.
All righty.
So.
Well, that wraps it up for us. That's all of our picks for this week. It was a very safe week of picks, but that's also kind of dangerous because we picked a lot of favorite teams. And how often do all the favorites win in an NFL week? Not that often. So we are rolling the dice here a little bit. But this week in general feels relatively safe. So
I agree, man. Like this week is a nice week to hopefully have a get back week because last week was obviously tough, but most of these games, I think there's a pretty clear, like, okay, this team should be better. But any given Sunday, we fucking know this. Any team can win.
Absolutely. All right.
All right.
Well, you got to get yourself off to a Halloween party.
I do. I got to get upstairs here very shortly. So, guys, thank you very much. This is the Lineman Lounge. I am Mike. That is Evo. This show comes on every week. Sometimes we got to switch up the schedules. I try to put it out on the socials when we're going to be, but typically look for it towards the end of the week, Friday, Saturday, Sunday time frame. So hit the page, subscribe, hit the bell, all that stuff on the YouTube. You can interact with our show on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I put out a new TikTok today. It has absolutely nothing to do with sports. But there's additional content out there now, finally. And then if you want to just listen to the show, any podcast platform is going to have us. But guys, thank you very much. We appreciate all the time that you spend with us. But we are going to get the fuck out of here. Appreciate you guys. Love you. See you.
See ya.